Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet the great Don Cox. He's the author of this best-selling romance novel. It's called 4 Years Until Ever After. His incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, one of the fastest growing categories of books in America is romance novels. But when you think about a typical romance novel writer, it's typically a woman. It's somebody who spent their whole life writing romance and watching, romantic comedies. My next guest has written a best-selling book. It's called 4 Years Until Ever After. Don Cox is in the studio. And I think the most remarkable thing is you're an engineer by trade.
I am, Jeff. Can you believe it?
But you spent your whole life writing technical papers.
I did. I spent a full life career, 50 years almost, in technical businesses. I'm like I said, I'm a degreed engineer. I have an MBA, and I've worked in telecommunications, defense, semiconductors, and finally in medical devices. And then after that, I consulted in medical devices for a couple of years before completely retiring. And that's raised 2 great sons, by the way. And I'm just very lucky to have had that career. But it hasn't been in writing romance novels. You're correct.
So there was an itch that you needed to scratch. When did it come to you that you felt like you had to write a romance novel?
It came to me quite suddenly. It was during the pandemic in 2020. And we were all quarantined in our houses. And I couldn't consult because consultants have to travel. And travel was really restricted during that period. So I was on my couch watching TV. I watched a lot of romantic comedies, and they were great, but one thing sort of irritated me about them is the way they ended. They were always resolved themselves in the last 90 seconds.
Yes.
And they had a kiss and a laugh, and then everything was rainbows and unicorns. So I said, what if I changed the ending of one of those romantic comedies? And I sort of turned it into a romantic drama. What if it didn't end exactly like most of these end? What if she didn't marry the right guy?
Right.
What if she made a mistake? So I went into my computer. I sat down, wrote 200 words. I looked at it, and it was terrible. And then I decided that this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. It's not like writing a medical device protocol.
Yes.
So, but I kept after it. I finally worked it into a short story length of about 900 to 1,000 words, sent it off to a contest. And a couple of months later, I got a letter back with a check for $250. And they said, you've won second prize. And they gave me all the judges' comments. And wow, all of a sudden, I was going to be the next Nicholas Spark.
That's incredible. All right, we all love The Notebook. Who doesn't love The Notebook? All right, we're going to put up on the screen his latest book, and you've written another novel. But tell us, how did you come up with the name for this book?
Well, the 4 years until ever after comes from a period in a romance or a drama in which it's after the split, when the 2 protagonists split apart. And then before they come back together, there's a period in which, if you learn about the mechanics of these stories, it's called career development or emotional development. It gives the 2 protagonists chance to reevaluate how they felt about their former love and maybe change their attitude. Maybe it was better that we were together than apart. And that grows, and the longing for each other grows. And so finally, they come back together, and the story ends. Well, I kept them apart for 4 years, my protagonist. It was an elongated emotional development period, and that's where the 4 years came.
Wow.
I wanted to keep them apart an extended period of time so they had plenty of time to figure out that they really needed to be back together. But then I made it really difficult for them to come back together.
Well, Don, you like a challenge because you you wrote about something else that you don't know anything about,
Yes.
Army Rangers.
Yes,
So
I
your
did.
your male
I
protagonist
did.
is an Army Ranger.
I had to do a lot of research. I was not in the military, obviously wasn't a Ranger, but my male protagonist, when they broke up, he went into the military. Now, the research told me, and this is actual fact, studies have shown that almost 10% of the people that go into the military go in there because of a broken relationship. Now, most of them go in there for, the education they're going to get, for patriotism, so forth and so on. But there's a 10% group that have come out of a broken relationship. They're high school sweethearts,
Yes.
threw them over or whatever. And so they went and joined the Army.
Wow.
That's a fact. So I had some grounds for why my male protagonist went into the military. And he carried this picture of the female, Julie, with him. And he was sent to Afghanistan. And he carried that picture with him through the entire 3.5 years that he was over there. And he went from battle to battle to battle. She, on the other hand, made a parallel path up through the corporate ladder. And I had to learn about how to get her in a position to where she could climb that ladder successfully. But as she climbed the ladder and got close to a C-level position in her company, she was so unhappy because she had lost her best friend, because they had been best friends since they were 7 years old.
Yes.
And she couldn't find him. He was 10,000 miles away, and these Rangers, especially the ones that are in reconnaissance, become ghosts in the digital world. They erase everything. Their Facebook pages, you can't find them. Telephone numbers, emails, everything. They stay hidden because it's dangerous for them to be digitally out there. So she couldn't find him.
Wow.
For 4 years.
I've heard just from interviewing other novelists that the toughest thing is to write dialogue. So,
It is.
and I could see you writing the male dialogue. How did you write the female dialogue?
Well, in many cases, I just had to try to put myself in her position, and it was not easy. And I made a lot of mistakes. The first novel that I put out, the 4-year hit, I guess it was, had some dialogue mistakes in it, and that's why I had to rewrite it. And so basically I consulted with some people that gave me some training on how to write dialogue.
Yes.
And you can take classes in that and
like when you-
learn how to do it.
When you're writing this, Don, I mean, are the characters speaking to you and saying,
Well, that's
no, I would
it's
never
called
say that?
point of view.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I had to be very cognizant of. So you have to write in either first, second, or third person. And when you switch too much between those points of view, you confuse your readers.
Yeah.
So I had to go through the entire novel, checking the point of view. And so the first chapter is first person. I'm becoming the narrator,
Yeah.
the narrator.
Yeah.
But after that, I turn it over to my characters to narrate themselves.
So when you're sitting there,
That's third person.
yeah, I'm imagining you in your home writing this. Does your female character say to you, "I would never say that"?
I would get so into this, Jeff. There were times when I would sit at the computer and it would be 10 p.m. and next time I would look up, it would be 4 a.m.
Wow.
I was studying the words so intensely and reading them like this over and over again. Did I get the timeline right? does it make sense? Am I saying something here that was supposed to have happened back here but didn't happen? And that would confuse the reader. And also the dialogue, did it make sense? Was it saying what I thought the characters should say?
Mm.
And that's what it takes to write one of these things.
Sure.
It's not easy. And it was got to be where it wasn't, honestly, it wasn't healthy. For a guy my age to sit in a chair for hours at a time, almost motionless, not drinking enough water.
Right.
I had to quit that. I mean, I did that about 3 times where I did pulled all-nighters with this thing.
Mm.
And I just,
No, I admire that. Means,
I mean, after a while I said,
yeah,
okay, you've got to get to a point on one of these novels when you write a book that there's an old saying that says perfection is the enemy of good enough.
Mm.
And I finally had to say, I kept going through here and saying, now, if I just change this, I could amp the drama up just a little bit or
yes.
whatever. And finally, you just have to stop and say, it's good enough.
Yeah.
And my publisher helped me out a lot with that.
Well, I want to show your previous book. Let's go ahead and put this on the screen because this was the first novel that you wrote.
You can call that the first attempt.
Okay.
Right there. That's the first attempt. It's the same story, but you'll see the same story, but in the second novel, the review was from a very well-known reviewer and respected reviewer. And I got glowing reviews from the first book. I would get 5-star reviews on my Amazon site, but he was really straight with me. He said, you need to make this a novel. Your situations are just too thin. You don't have them fleshed out. And it made me mad. Quite frankly, if you get a bad review, it just hits you right there because I put so much work into it.
Sure.
And then I got mad and I said, finally I got over that. And then I sat down and said, okay, I'll write this novel and I will finish the story.
Mm.
I will tell the whole thing. I'll dig into these characters' lives. One thing that it has, which I'll go ahead and say, just so your audience knows, is I put a love scene in here.
Nice.
That's not in the other one. Now, I've never written a love scene before, so I had to learn how to do that. Did you know you can take classes in how to write a love scene?
Is that right?
Yes, and they're not cheap.
Wow. You're going to have to buy the book to read the Don's Love
So you
Scene.
can determine for yourself if I got it right.
All right, we're going to show the gallery page of his website because there's some great images here as we scroll down. So this is I'm assuming this is
This was the
book
first
signing?
book, yeah.
And was it a book signing?
It was a book signing, right?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was at Half Price Books here. They have a great program for local authors.
I love that. I wrote a book many years ago, and it's always fun to do a book signing. What kind of comments have you gotten since you've written 2 books?
Well, I'd like to read one of them about my book, this book right here. I just got this. It's on the Amazon site.
Nice.
I just read this book. I read the entire book in one sitting. Could not put it down. Very dramatic and romantic. Well written and easy to read. It will become a movie someday. Well, that's probably not true because that's a whole nother ball of wax becoming a movie. But I'm getting reviews like that off of the book.
Yeah.
So I think people like it.
Okay, so they should also know that you have another life beyond engineering and consulting,
Yes.
which was your previous life. You are a very successful tree farmer.
Well, that is true.
So we've got some video that we're going to put up on the screen. So tell us about tree farming.
Well, tree farming, where did I get that from engineering? Well, not my parents, but my wife's parents owned a wheat farm in north central Oklahoma for years. So they've always been close to the land, and that's kind of rubbed off on us. When I retired, a lot of people want to travel, the world, and we've got friends that have been in almost every country there are. We get pictures constantly from Thailand and whatever. That appeals to me, but I wanted to own land, and my wife is of the same mind. We wanted to own something that's generational. We can pass on to our kids. And so we decided to buy a tree farm. Well, that's like writing a novel. If you don't know anything about it, you can get in trouble real quick and be unsuccessful. And we did buy a smaller property that it just wasn't right for raising the pine trees. It wasn't commercially viable.
Mm-hmm.
So we wound up selling it. And then my wife was a forensic accountant, and she just is relentless about searching websites and whatever for properties that come open like this. And so between the professional forester that we had hired for the first property and a really great land, what do you call it, a real estate agent,
Mm-hmm.
and her efforts, we finally found this one property near Linden. It's 200 acres, and we were able to put a bid on it. Another timber company was selling it, and we just put in a bid and we paid cash for it.
Wow.
And so
That's
that's how we got that tree farm.
and this is the kind. I mean, we end up seeing your lumber at like a Home Depot.
You will. The lumber, the ones that you saw there in that movie clip, will be turned into paper products.
Okay.
Plywood, it becomes plywood, paper products, and things like that. And that is the reason, because the trees that they took out was what is called in the industry a fifth row thinning.
Okay.
They took out every fifth row, and they only took out the trees that were under 12 inches in diameter or had died or something like that. Now, those are the type of trees that they grind up at the mill and turn into pulp, and then that becomes plywood.
Yes.
The trees that are remaining that you see out there will continue to grow, and within another couple of 3 years, they'll be well over 12 inches in diameter.
Wow.
And then when they're harvested, they will be turned into what's called saw timber.
Yes.
And that's where you get the 2x4s and all of that become sold in Lowe's and Home Depot.
Oh.
So that's coming, but they have to grow some more.
Yes.
In order to get to that point.
Well, Don, we got a couple minutes left. I want you to talk to the person out there who has an itch that they need to scratch as well, because there's a lot of people who are retired and looking for purpose. What words of encouragement would you give?
You have to just follow maybe you had a hobby or a desire or something before you went into your line of professional work or your whatever you did for a living. And then you kind of enhance that and scratch that itch. That's basically, I think, the best way to learn and to find something in retirement that you like to do. But it's got to be something that really, really turns you on.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to find these areas that really turned me on. Mm-hmm. And you too can do it if you look around and
I think that's brilliant advice. Find something that would keep you up till 4 a.m.
That's right. If you could find something that will keep you all night long and ruin your health,
you found the right hobby.
You have found the right hobby.
I love it. Don, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your
you.
wisdom with us. We're going to end with his website, which is doncoxauthor.com. The great Don Cox. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.